Hello, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. I was going to start by saying good morning, which it is where I am, but I don't know where it is where you are since I don't know where you are, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night for some of you who are far, far away from here. It is an honor and a pleasure to be addressing you today, and I wish we could have done this in person, and I will do my best to keep your attention for a while as we do this via video, and after the video is over, we will have some time for questions and answers. I'm Dan Siegel. I am a clinical professor of dermatology at SUNY Downstate, former president of the American Academy of Dermatology, and a clinician who has spent most of my clinical career diagnosing and treating skin cancer. My co-presenter, who will be answering all the technical questions, is Eric DeHoos, the CEO of SkinVision. And on behalf of both of us and all of the folks at SkinVision, it is an honor and a pleasure to be here today. I would like to disclose that I am a member of the SkinVision Scientific Advisory Board, and I do hold some options. It's quite likely most of the dermatologists in the audience know me already, but for those of you who don't, here's what I look like. In fact, what I look like on the left was about a week and a half before I recorded this when I had my COVID-19 beard and uncut hair. My wife told me that I needed to at least trim the beard for an upcoming web conference that I was running about a week ago, so I clipped the beard back, slicked up the hair, and combed it back, and that's how I look now with my bow tie. I've always been a big fan of bow ties, not because of any particular aesthetic reason, but rather they're fun to tie. I've got an amazing collection of these, and if I wind up being at a presentation where a computer crashes, it gives me something to do to teach the audience how to tie a bow tie. One person is diagnosed with melanoma every 5 minutes in the USA. And you may be saying, if you're not a dermatologist, so what? Melanoma is a skin cancer that can be lethal and often is lethal if not caught early, and yet if caught early can be simple to treat, easy to treat with an extremely high cure rate. This is a very common disease and one that we still have not gotten a handle on, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Melanoma is usually sun-related. People spend too much time out in the sun. And we won't spend a lot of time on that. We're here to talk tech today. Skin cancer affects 1 in 5 people in the population and is a major public health challenge. It is expected that there will be 100,000 invasive melanomas diagnosed in the USA in 2020, with 5.4 million basal cell carcinomas and squamous cell carcinomas also diagnosed in the USA. 1 in 3 of all forms of cancer in the U.S. is skin cancer, and primary care physicians often lack training to recognize these early on. There's also a growing shortage of dermatologists for a number of reasons, and importantly, there are other skin cancers out there, not just the ones we've listed, though these are the big 3. As you can see from the pie chart, 70% of skin cancers in the U.S. are basal cell carcinoma, 17% are squamous cell carcinoma, and about 10% are melanoma, with Merkel cell carcinoma and dermatofibrosarcoma protuberans making up the rest. But there are literally dozens of variants, and if you expand into cutaneous lymphomas, the flavors and varieties can become mind-boggling. The numbers don't lie, and the incidence of skin cancer is both rising and underestimated. On the left, we have a chart showing the incidence per 100,000 people of melanomas in the United States from 1999 to 2016, and this has risen in that period from 15 per 100,000 to over 20. The number of all skin cancers is also rising, as we can see on the right, looking at the Medicare population, which is very good, hard data, but these are not tracked by states and governments the way that melanomas are. So we're looking at a proxy, which is the number of people over 65 years of age who have Medicare insurance between the ages of between the years of 2006 and 2012 to show the increase in skin cancer procedures and the age-adjusted procedures per 100,000 beneficiaries during that time period. A great piece of work done by Drs. Coldiron and colleagues back in 2015. Skin cancer affects 1 in 5 people and is a major challenge in public health. Wait times can be months in parts of the U.S. This was thoroughly studied by Dr. Jack Resnick and associates in the first decade of this century, and it's gotten somewhat better, but some places still have prolonged delays. Now, why is that? Well, one reason might be the shift from medical dermatology to aesthetics. If you're a sick person in the U.S. and you have insurance and the physician accepts your insurance, it's easy to get in. But if they don't take your insurance, or you have what we call bad insurance, which is something that pays less than the cost of providing the service, you may not want to go see the doctors who are on your list because the better doctors are filled up and the ones who are left may not be as good. But again, some may disagree with that. But these are big issues. There was a New York Times article a few years back where a study was done calling up offices and asking for an appointment for a chronic inflammatory disease versus an appointment for an aesthetic procedure. The former could be a wait of weeks to months. The latter would be the same day potentially. There's also a possible overuse in the U.S., which has a pay-for-volume system. Unlike many parts of the world that have a more civilized, socialized medicine system, here in the U.S., most of our insurance is paying for whatever you do. In fact, 70% of the time you walk into a dermatologist's office, you will have both a cognitive interaction and a procedure performed. And of course, why is this important? Well, we're spending more money for that, and there may be overuse of biopsies. Also, uneven insurance coverage keeps people from getting the care they need. After all, if you can't make a living, it's hard to lose money on every patient and keep your doors open. And insurance is a problem. It's beyond the scope of our lecture today, but I must say that I look upon countries such as the Netherlands, Denmark, Canada, Japan, and it looks like people are very happy and getting very good care. From my travels and the occasional need for health care for myself and my wife, I've always been impressed how care is in countries that have what we in the States call quote-unquote socialized medicine, but I think it's personally a much better sort of system. But back to the topic at hand. Treatment costs are low if diagnosed early, but late diagnosis can run to hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, if not more, and treatment success rates are not great for advanced melanomas. Early detection of skin cancer, especially melanoma, is key, and eHealth solutions hold that key. And coronavirus has exacerbated the need and strength of eHealth solutions even more. We had a grand experiment in the U.S. until the advent of the coronavirus with the hotspots in places like New York and Seattle. Telehealth was not done very commonly, but the floodgates were opened to let people stay at home and still get necessary health care, and physicians were paid on parity with in-person visits. This proved quite successful and popular, especially with patients, though physicians weren't always as enthused, but I think physicians will come around. Inflammatory skin diseases, where you're looking at the amount of redness and the extent of disease, can be managed in many cases remotely without dragging the patient into the office, having to pay for parking, pay for travel, pay for the visit, and miss productive time at work. This can be done at times that are mutually convenient. In my own case, I have kidney stones. I had a teleconsult last week with my urologist for follow-up. My x-ray showed no stones, and the gist of the call was, hey, keep taking that potassium citrate, keep dissolving those stones and don't form new ones. Let's get an x-ray in a year unless you have a problem. I saved myself waiting time, travel time, and it was convenient for both of us. He could talk to me between patients. I could talk to him on a day when I was loose and was flexible, and we both won on that one. Our major discussion topic today is about SkinVision, a CE marked medical device for the early detection of skin cancer that is meant to be used by the lay public as an over-the-counter entity. It is more than 95% sensitive and more than 87% specific, and to date there are more than 1.5 million users worldwide, and over 35,000 skin cancers have been diagnosed to date. Now, skin cancer has also achieved a number of voluntary certifications from BSI. We are ISO 13485 certified, which is for the medical device manufacturer, ISO 27001, which is information security, and NEN 7510, which is the Dutch healthcare standard for information security. If at the end you have questions about these, Eric will be happy to answer those. We as physicians often have many of our own opinions, but it's often great to hear from a patient. So let's meet up with Casey. Casey, take it away.
I'm Casey. I'm 34 years old and I live in country Victoria. I've got a beautiful family. I've got two little boys that are 5 and 6 years old. I'm a registered nurse. I work at my local hospital, and a few months ago I was diagnosed with melanoma. I'd noticed the spot on my leg about 2 years ago. It was a new spot and it was sort of two different colours. It was really quite small back then, and I got on Google actually and I found the SkinVision app. So I took a photo of it. This is back in 2016. And it sent it off and it came back as low risk, which was great. It was 2 years later that I remember looking at it again and thinking, I think it might have grown. So I took a new photo of the spot and straight away you could see how much it had changed looking back at the old one. I sent it off for review with SkinVision and it came back very quickly that it was high risk and that I needed to get it checked. So I made another appointment with my GP a week later. He did take it off and he rang me 2 days later and told me that it was a melanoma. I certainly think I'm one of the lucky ones that I caught it early, although it was 2 years in the making. I'm classed as a high risk now. I'm only 34 years old and I've already had one melanoma, so there's a higher chance that I'll get another one. So I need to have 4 monthly checkups with my dermatologist, and I'll still be using the SkinVision app between checkups. If there's anything that I'm worried about, it's great to be able to take a photo and look back on it.
Thank you. SkinVision, as you can see, may save lives. Here are just some examples of what the screens look like. As you can see, here is the screen on a cell phone showing that there's an error message saying we can't detect a skin spot, move the camera closer, or make sure there's enough light. The system essentially looks to be sure that it gets good quality photos. It then studies the image and it gives patient a potential risk outcome, and as part of the risk outcome it explains in plain language what that means. And there are recommendations to check your skin regularly, and SkinVision will even send you text message reminders that it's time to look for those funny moles or to take another look at something that you think may be growing or changing. I'd like to now give you a taste of what SkinVision looks like in action, and we're going to image an arm on a patient. So here we go. The patient is holding the camera, zooming in, and notice the rings go from white to blue as they get at the correct distance, and it gets better and better until they've targeted, and it automatically captures the image. After capturing, they have a bunch of questions to go through, demographic type questions. They can put in the location, and after doing this, they say get my result, and the system tells the patient it is low risk in this case. It goes through what the algorithm looks for and what it does find and what it doesn't find. It tells you what to do, good common sense health indications. The app also gives you an idea of what the next steps would be, such as saving the photo to allow tracking, perform smart checks of the spot on a regular basis, and you can always reach SkinVision, and as you see, the patient saves it. Very quick, very rapid, very straightforward. Anyone can do it. Anyone can save their own life, save a parent's life. Now, the active research community for skin cancer has essentially limited battle-hardened solutions available on the market. SkinVision is here right now, and the markets, including the US and Canada, are pending clearance, but it's already in the EU, Australia, and New Zealand. There's a positive health impact with partnerships with insurance providers and health systems in the EU and other countries where it's available, and currently over 4 million photos have been submitted by users. SkinVision applies the best-in-class machine learning practices for both training and validation, and further validation through clinical studies, review of histopathology, and clinical validation by skilled dermatologists is part of the process. Camera technology ensures strong quality control of inputs in real-world use, which is very important. You don't want people to take blurry pictures, dark pictures. The SkinVision program is multifaceted with many feedback loops. On the left of the cartoon, you see a user taking a picture, which is uploaded into their phone, or actually taken by their phone, and the algorithm gives a low, medium, or high risk assessment in 30 seconds. The results in the images are directly sent on to a database, and the clinical images are reviewed by dermatologists, and where discordance occurs, there is further discussion and review, and the results are used to further train the algorithms and further improve accuracy, as you see with the feedback loop at the top. On the bottom, we see that these databases can also be used for customer service uh, applications, which would include encouraging users to regularly take pictures of lesions, especially suspicious ones. So the machine learning algorithm that is the heart of it, as shown in the middle, not only helps make an assessment, but it also helps expand the available database for training and education. Research and development in machine learning has been critical to the development of the app because SkinVision has put a lot of time and effort. The team has worked a lot to make this simple and to make this work so that patients will actually use it and be confident they're using it correctly. Machine learning image assessment, and again, this is the simplistic perspective of the clinician, not the sophisticated perspective of the scientists and engineers at SkinVision, but I think will suffice to get you all to understand what we do. SkinVision uses a segmentation GAN, and as you can see, there's a blue line around the image that's part of that process, and then the ResNet 50 deep neural network goes into play, and it creates what I think of as a heat map. It separates the lesion from the surrounding tissue, and it concentrates only on that lesion and parses it into risk, either high or low. In the latest iteration that we hope to bring to the US, earlier iterations also had an intermediate assessment level, and I believe those may still be used in parts of the world. Machine learning is the heart of the SkinVision application, and SkinVision has a strong R&D focus. SkinVision was founded in research and has moved through scientific validation to operation. A goal is to solve a user's problems. What does the user worry about and what should they do next? The objective is real-life deployment to create a global impact. Neural networks, using the proven models from academic research, specifically ResNet, which is sufficient at the moment, allows robustness before uniqueness as population health is involved. Training data comes from real-world data acquired from SkinVision users, matching the users to their devices, and this training data is always expanding, and this makes sure accuracy is also reached in practice. Customer feedback is critical because real-world evidence is the ultimate deciding factor, and that determines large-scale usability and accuracy on par or better than the standard of care as a long-term goal and objective. Evaluation through clinical studies and real health systems and internal quality processes is critical, as is the need to reach accuracy in a global population starting at the lay level. And again, the process is strict for labeling, training, testing, and compliance, so we have operational excellence that will bring down cost at scale to a fraction of existing levels. Input normalization with machine learning is critical. Users take a photo using a proprietary camera app which uses computer vision techniques on iOS or Android devices to guide the user to take optimal photos, normalize photos with respect to lighting, distance, and composition, and accept only photos which can be assessed. We also improve clinical validation by a team of trained dermatologists reviewing the images. The deep neural network is trained on SkinVision production data since 2016 with over 3 million photos. 500,000 photos were labeled by in-house dermatologists, and 100,000 photos are selected for training at present. Photos are taken by real users using the camera application, and they match real-world use very well with no manual interventions required to make the data fit. There's a variety of photo-taking skills by lay users in a variety of lighting conditions on a variety of devices, on a variety of skin types and skin conditions, and we handle them all. There is scientific validation out there. SkinVision's strong process allows for high-quality deployment, and there's real-world accuracy at greater than 95% sensitivity and 87% specificity in the detection of skin cancers, including melanoma, squamous cancers, and basal cell cancers. The latest peer-reviewed publications show a greater than 95 sensitivity and 78% specificity. And that's the Udrea et al. Paper, which is available online at the link here, and it will also be in the PDF that will be downloadable. A number of great studies have been done, and SkinVision has collaborated with a number of entities since it was founded. Clinical studies in 2014 and 2016 at the Ludwig Maximilians University in Munchausen, Germany, The Catharina Eindhoven Hospital in the Netherlands, the Global Population Study involving the EU, Australia, and New Zealand, the Rotterdam Erasmus Medical Center in the Netherlands, have all supported this work and have produced peer-reviewed publications. The health impact studies allow lots of data to be looked at based on users, based on splitting between ages and diagnoses, and I won't belabor this slide, but it is in your handout. There have been validation publications that look at this from another perspective. Dr. Ferris's group looked at accuracy of dermatologists versus physician assistants, and they found that physician assistants biopsied 39.4 pigmented lesions for every melanoma they found, whereas dermatologists only needed to biopsy 25.4. Nowhere as good as the good experts out there, such as Dr. Margoob, who works with Dr. Halpern, but it shows that derms are pretty good. Family docs are much worse. And patients screened by a physician assistant was significantly less likely than those screened by a dermatologist to be diagnosed with melanoma in situ. Some dermatologists are better, as I mentioned, like Dr. Margoob, some are worse, but overall, we are better than any other specialty. But we're not as good as SkinVision. It's worth looking at that paper. The landmark papers on SkinVision include the paper that was led by Thyssen and senior authored by Thomas Ruzicka that looked at smartphone devices are growing, but none address the general identification of melanoma. And I won't read through this in detail, but basically this looked at classical image analysis using fractal imaging assessment to diagnose both melanomas and non-melanoma skin cancers. This was done in Eindhoven with 341 melanocytic and non-melanocytic lesions imaged by SkinVision, and 239 underwent histopathologic evaluation, and the algorithm was 80% sensitive and 78% specific in detecting both malignant and pre-malignant conditions in all comers. Not as good as the clinician's eye, but it may support other professionals who are less good than dermatologists, and that included all lesions, not just melanomas. So it adds value to the diagnostic tools available. Another paper by Meyer and senior authored by Udrea was similar but looked at pigmented moles, and to cut to the chase on this one, they found 195 lesions that had histopathologic analysis. There were 40 melanomas, 42 dysplastic nevi, and 113 benign nevi, and the sensitivity of the diagnosis by fractal image analysis was 73%, specificity 83%, compared to 88 and 97% respectively for clinical diagnosis by derms, saying it might be a promising tool, and that was 2015. Let's jump ahead to 2019, a paper that Udrea, again, was principal author on, looking at the machine learning algorithm that's been updated and refined. In this case, we have 131,000 images taken by 31,000 users in multiple countries over a 2-year period and were rated for risk by dermatologists. And the algorithm used histopathologically validated skin cancer cases, including 138 melanomas from 2 previously published studies and from the user database, and specificity and sensitivity were calculated from also the use of 6,000 clinically validated benign cases. And here we have 95.1 sensitivity for premalignant conditions, with 93% for melanoma and 97% for clinical keratinocytic carcinomas, and the sensitivity was achieved with 78% specificity. So we are really there, and again, better than others. SkinVision is working with many partners across the globe, such as Generali and Leo Pharma, a lot of partnership. And Eric and his colleagues would love to hear from you. Drop him an email at research@skinvision.com, or better yet, if you've got questions, we can try and answer them right now. But again, Eric is always happy to help and answer those questions at any time. And thank you for listening to me, albeit remotely, and may you all stay healthy, and hopefully you have learned something today. Anybody can do this. Casey.